Leadership and its importance in security. So first I'll talk about myself a little bit, so you can all read that, adults. So I have experience in various sectors, as already said, and I fell into security actually quite by a mistake. So when I was on maternity leave with my children, I studied at the university IT and computing degree, because what do you do if you are on maternity leave? Surely you just go and grow. I have met my future manager, Peter, in a pub, where I basically insulted his job to get my job. What I said was, I've met this person for the first time, and I asked him what was his job, and he said he was the information security manager at Capita. And I said to him, well, that's pretty pointless, isn't it? Because they will get into the systems, whether you like it or not. He was luckily of a good nature and a humor, so he did not get offended. He just looked at me, and I just continued. I said, oh, actually, if you do have backups, if you've got good incident response, you can be of value. And he offered me a job there and then, which was really quite an unusual way to make my way into information security. So why leadership? Why is this topic that's really close to my heart? It's not this how I fell into security, it's what was following after. So what is leadership? There are various terms that describe it, but I think for me, my most favorite description of leadership is the ability to guide, to inspire, and to influence or motivate people to achieve common goal. Bear that in mind, common goal, really important. So leadership doesn't come from position of authority. I've seen some people in position of authority that were not leaders. How I arrived to leadership, it was thanks to the managing director of my first, of the company I landed in security first. His name was Anthony. I've already told you about how I got the job. So after 2 months, I was completely new analyst in a new company. I haven't worked in security before. My manager decided to resign. That was a really scary moment for me, because he didn't know who he hired. He didn't know I didn't have experience. I knew about security. I had good head on my shoulders, but I didn't have all of the experience. And I was absolutely terrified that one day, when the new person comes as my manager, they will expect I know stuff. And that just really was concerning, because as a new person in a new company, you just don't feel very secure. So something magical happened. So this managing director, Anthony, he sat me down and he said to me, you'll be all right, Danny, we will take care of you. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just an analyst, I'm this new person, and there's the managing director telling me I'll be okay. That was quite special, because that was the biggest display of the leadership I have ever seen in my life. And that basically changed my life and brought me where I am on my journey. So hands up who had a good leader in their career. Hopefully somebody did. Excellent. So how did that make you feel? What was the impact of a good leader on you in that specific moment, whatever they have done? There we go, we feel valued. What else do we feel? Do we feel inspired when there's a leadership in the background, when somebody's supporting you? Do you feel confident? That's the good leadership. Now, I also had a really bad experience. I had somebody in a position of CISO, and I was, I can't tell you the role because you will know which company it is. So this person was responsible for security across the whole organization. I was responsible for, amongst other things, third-party risk management, and we were not doing this really effectively. We were evaluating every single supplier, even the one that sells you a box of pens, on full scale. Annually, year after year, we would go to a supplier who sells box of pens. That is, there's no access to your network, there's no access to your data, it's not a critical supplier, but yet we still would send 176 questions to the supplier. What is this? it is waste of resources. So I went to my manager and I said, I really don't think we should be doing this. And his response was, well, I'm a CISO and I have said so, so we will be doing that. That was quite interesting, and guess how it made me feel? It really didn't make me feel very happy. It didn't make me feel like I wanted to support this, and I just did not feel I was aligned with his values. Is there anyone else who had a bad leader in their life? So, any examples of how did they make you feel? Just shout out.
Small.
Correct. Small, insignificant, not listened to. So when you have a bad leader, the whole security suffers. And I'll move on to that a little bit later with communication and strategy. So when you do have a good leader, they motivate. They motivate people, they enable them to grow, and they do their best. As I did in my security analyst role, after what Anthony said to me, I was completely determined to drive innovation, to drive security, and I was really quite inspired. And I was dedicated to the company, to protect it, to make sure that I know everything about everyone, and my enthusiasm then inspired others within the company. So this is basically your good leadership. That's what it creates. It motivates people, makes them happy. We'll make next slide, vision and strategy. Now, why is this important? Vision is a critical component of leadership. It needs to be aligned with the business, and it gives direction to people. If we do not know where we're going, what is the point? So it also inspires and guides decision-making. So if we know what our goal is and how we want to get there, we can make the right decisions. What is the cost of no strategy? Well, I'll tell you that very clearly. There's a loss of alignment. You will not get the board support, and you will waste resources and miss opportunities. One of the companies I worked for had this bad leader I mentioned, and it wasn't that he was a bad person, he just didn't have his leadership skills. So as a person, lovely, as a leader, somewhat lacking. But what did that mean for the company is the important bit, because we are here to talk about security, not just about leadership. There was no strategy. So operations were completely misaligned. People didn't know what they were doing, where were they going, and what their role actually was. So at some point, we had alerts and we had DDoS attacks on our website. Most of the companies want to make money. Is that correct? There and thereabouts. So if you do not have a website where people can buy your product, what does that mean? You're losing money. So we did not have clear definitions of who's responsible for asset management, who's responsible for monitoring those websites. And actually, we lost a lot of money because there was no strategy at all in place. Even internal audit came and looked at the strategy that was created for specifically internal audit. And they said, while strategy exists, the strategy does not tell people how we will basically address threats or how we're going to arrive to our goal. And at the end, actually, we found out that strategy wasn't even communicated, which is quite shocking. So without any strategy, your people don't know where they're going. And in this company, out of 13 security people, 4 of them left. That's 1/3 of your security team leaving. Imagine that happens in your organization and you are responsible for that team. How are you going to deliver the security services? Well, really with great difficulty, don't you? So then we have a good strategy example. So when I worked at a large accommodation provider, their strategy or their mission and vision was to be the largest accommodation of their accommodation provider, sorry. And we had various websites, and I had to make a decision which one is more important to keep up to date and patch. Now, one of them was where students were booking the accommodation. One of them was this is good to have. This is nice for you to know. We've got these other services that you don't really pay for. So what was my decision? My decision was to take care of the website that will bring us money. That's alignment of the security strategy with the business strategy, and that's how you get resources from your board. Now, I'll move on to communication and transparency. Communication is the basic of any relationship, whether it's at work, personal, or anywhere else between friends. So, as I said, strategy was not communicated, and that's where it failed. Other teams don't know what security teams are doing. If you do not communicate, if you do not tell the rest of the business what you're doing, what you need from them, and what they can get from you, you will ultimately fail. I had, in this company I worked for, security was siloed. There was no communication as to what's happening, so sometimes people were just surprised about this new communication that says, oh, we've just implemented this from security. People don't like it. You need to take them on a journey. Being transparent and communicating with your business is the essence of your being. It's how you deliver things. So for me, taking people on journey is how you achieve things. I always was a great advocate of talking to people and understanding their problems, their point of view. So when I started to work at this company, I made my rounds and I just spoke to all of the departments and understand what their pain points are. Just like Martin already said, I wish I went first because I will probably be repeating quite a lot of what he said. But that means he's a true leader. So I am a big fan of KPIs. All those KPIs are not key performance indicators. They are keep people informed, keep people interested. So I have communicated to my new team about what I want from them and what they can get from me. So when I started, I've been pulled by HR and they said to me, your people are a bit of characters. What does that translate into? They're probably a bit difficult. So communication helped me resolve these issues. I sat them down, we had a workshop, and I declared to them what I'm going to do for them and what I expect from them. So that was very well communicated and transparent, and I got them on board, and they are working with me, can rely on them, and can deliver my outcomes. Also, if you are transparent, you get people to tell you things. You get people to tell you things they wouldn't have told you otherwise. So I had a direct report who didn't think our processes were great. And he understood that when he comes to me and says, this is rubbish, I will go look into it and do something about it. And this is how I took 70% of his workload of him, because he said, I spend 70% of my time chasing people in emails. And I was like, okay, great, let's go to the automation team and ask them what they can do for us. And they could do something for us, and he freed himself up for much better things. So definitely, ask people what they want, talk to them, and make them understand. As a good leader, you have to be there for them, and you have to inspire them. They have great ideas, and they will tell you about them as long as they feel like they are safe. They will not be criticized, and there's no punishment. So no blame culture is all the way. Now, culture of security, how do you build it? Well, in one of the companies, again, won't name, when I started, I found out that we had 3.5 hours long security training. Let that sink. 3.5 hours, that's a half of a day you're sitting there, and all he's going to take away from the training is, I hate security. I have no idea what they've just said. I hate security. I spend my time doing this, put it on 2 times speed, and I just don't want to do anything with them. That's not great, is it? So how do you build the culture of security? You make the security training relevant. Well done, Tim. You make the security training short enough, and you make the policies and standards understandable. The other thing I found out was the 18 pages of acceptable use policy. that's not a policy. If it's got 18 pages, it's probably a standard guidance and anything else in between. So how do you get people on board? How do you build this culture of security? You make it clear, you make it easy, and you work with the people. So what I've done is I said, right, L&D, learning and development, we've got 30 minutes. 3.5 hours, no way. 30 minutes, and that will include the test at the end. Now, what about these 18 pages of policy? Okay, we've got 3 pages, and that includes the cover sheet. Thank you very much. So that's how I got people on board. And I went around the business, and I communicated it. And I did apologize to everyone for this 3.5 hour of training, because it just wasn't fair, was it? So for building security, you have to go out there, you have to talk to people, you have to understand, but you also have to have this person or this face of security where people can come and say, Danny, I've got a problem, I've clicked on a phishing link, I've put credentials into this browser. People need to know you are there for them, because that is how you build culture of security. It's a shared responsibility, but they only will know it if you tell them about it. So I now need to turn my... So next one, support, development and growth. Why is this important? So if you feel supported, you want to do the best for the business. Is that correct? Yes. So in one of my jobs, I obviously wasn't very supported because I had this CISO who was the CISO and he said so. And I didn't feel motivated to deliver for him, even though I wouldn't do anything against it. I wasn't as driven. I still tried to do my best, but I wasn't driven. So for me, having the support from the leader motivates me, inspires me, and the same I'm trying to do to my direct reports. I need to understand them for that. I can't just go and say, oh, you need to have a risk training, or you need to have a AI training. You have to understand your people. So what is important is understand where is everybody on their journey, where they're going, and how you as a leader can help them to get there. So you can have people who are really keen and really want to drive their career, and then you can have people who are this close to their retirement and they just want to stay there until they are retiring. They don't want to be training more, and they still need to keep up to date with the new trends, but they just don't want to be making that effort because it's just too late and they will not use it. So you need to understand people, you need to talk to them, you need to bring them together, and you make them feel valued. So development and growth along those lines. The development is really important because some people, if they want to grow in their career, they need to know what the next step is. And if you are not clear about how to get to the next step, they will leave. Nobody likes when people leave, because then you have to retrain once, and maybe they were really good. So also, in security, we know that every day is different, and every day there's a new threat. If they are not growing, if they are not developing, they will lose interest, and they will just do the same job all the time, and they will not support your strategy and your delivery. Reward and recognition is quite important as well. So in one of my teams, it was actually the one where there was no strategy, people were really demotivated. As I mentioned, they were misaligned. They really weren't heading anywhere because of the lack of the strategy. So what I wanted to do is to uplift the spirit a little bit. And what I did is I started a monthly team building. Now, why is that important? It was the last Friday of each month, and we would sit down, I would do a quiz, and the quiz would have 10 questions on general knowledge, 10 questions on the colleagues within the team, and then some security questions so people can learn and basically cross-skill. Now, that doesn't sound like much of fun, but it really helped people to understand each other. They understood who is doing what and why are they doing and what they like in their private life. Additionally to this, I have started the recognition forum. So at the beginning of each of these meetings, I have presented a slide and saying, this month we have achieved, and actually named people and said, oh, such and such implemented this new program, or such and such remediated these many pen test actions. And people started to realize that they are making difference, but they just needed to be shown what that difference is and how it impacts the rest of the team and the security. So, creating security culture takes time, and one day it will pay off, but you have to spend time with people. You have to understand them. You need to feedback, and recognition does need to come just from a leader. You can recognize a colleague, you can recognize your leader, and actually you'd be quite surprised that the people on the top do not get feedback very often. They actually are as insecure as everybody else, as we are. They need us to tell them as well whether they're doing good or bad. And actually, if somebody's not a great leader, maybe you can help them by saying, have you thought about this? Or is there any way we could do that? So, because leadership, like I said, is not from position of authority. Leadership is this ability to inspire people. And that could be you, or you, or you. If you're not a leader yet, or maybe just aspiring leader, you can always grow that way. You can give feedback, you can recognize colleagues, and you can build those allies, because it's really important not to be alone in security. So I think that will be probably where I'm going to finish. Are there any questions around anything at all? No. Yes, sir.
Looking at the landscape that you see now, what do you think is the biggest challenge that leaders are going to have going forward? Because I think that we've talked a lot about technology and AI. Where do you think you're focused? Where are you focusing? Where are you working?
At the moment, so I've started my new role about 2 months ago. So I'm currently focusing on building a strategy, understanding the business. So first 8 weeks I have spent going around the business and saying, okay, what you got for me? How can I help you? What is it you are doing? And how are we as a security team stopping you? So I'm building the strategy. I am communicating with the board to actually get the strategy approved. And I'm making sure that my team has the skill set to cover all of the security services we need to deliver, because sometimes you just need to, you land in a new position and you need to understand where the gaps are, not only in technology and processes, but also the skill sets you are managing. So at the moment, that's my 30-60-90, and building alliances with colleagues, making sure they understand they do matter, they really need to be helping me so I can help them, and that we are trying to get to the same goal together, and we need to be working together as well. And specifically with the AI, so we've got an AI lab, and they need my help in understanding where the security comes from and how does it work, and I need them to come and tell me when they want to put a new model in or how they're going to use it. So it's quite exciting space, but I would say the AI and how it aligns with business and business goals, and also do we have BCP for AI? So if we are over-relying on some AI processes, what if that fails? What do we do? Is that in place? Yes?
We sometimes talk to people in the security awareness context where they're perhaps trying to create a sort of no-blame message, but the prevailing wider culture isn't quite on board with that. From a leadership concept, can you have a subculture, or do you have to just go with what the prevailing culture is?
So absolutely, I am a big fan of no-blame culture, and actually in one of the companies I worked for, we had a consequence framework, which meant if you clicked on a phishing link 5 times, you would be dismissed. Imagine that. good luck with the employment tribunal. But anyway, so what I've done is I just went to the board and I said, okay, now you are trying to achieve a good security culture. How are you going to achieve when there's no psychological safety? How are you going to achieve your goals to build good security when you're threatening people with dismissal? And I went, as a head of security, sat in a meeting once. On my phone, there was a expense claim landing on my phone. I was in a meeting and I clicked on it and it was phishing email. Okay, it was internal phishing email. So imagine if head of security can click on a phishing exercise, why would everybody else be, invincible? Why would they know all the time that that must be a phishing email? They can't. So what I had done, I sat them through a presentation and I said, okay, this framework doesn't work. It was 13 people who repeatedly clicked. We've trained them, but what we need to do is we need to scrap this 3.5-hour training to start with, because we're actually not training our people to understand security. We're just doing compliance bit, and compliance is not assurance. So I've presented my solution. I said, what we're going to do is this, and actually, and this is not a paid advert, but we signed up with Red Flags because I've seen how the tool works, and I truly believe that that will help us get the security into better position, and security culture and security mindfulness. So you need to communicate with your board and explain to them why that kind of behavior is not going to benefit your program or the security culture. As an answer. Anyone else? No? 30 seconds left. Okay then. Thank you very much.